Hello and welcome, and thanks so much for joining me for this week's Oracle card reading for week commencing the 16th of October. Let's get straight into our reading and see what cards come up for us today. What messages from the divine show up for us to help us guide and navigate our lives this week. So we're just waiting for our third and final card. There we go. Right, so the first card that comes up for us to symbolize the beginning of this week is courage. So we may be asked at the beginning of the week to really stand in our power, a little bit like last week where we were kind of showing all of who we were, including our vulnerabilities and including our quirky selves. This week it's more about having the courage of our convictions to maintain that, to keep going with that. If we are finding it a little bit difficult at the start of the week, we may want to call upon God or our angels to really help us have that courage of our convictions to stand up for what we believe in, to stand up for what we know is right. We could, some of us may see something this week that really doesn't sit well with us. Perhaps we are aware of someone being bullied or mistreated in some way. And we may feel a real strong urge to kind of get involved. It's important to know that we do that whilst keeping ourselves safe as well, and also, not letting anything to descend into kind of anger or violence or aggression. It's about kind of keeping, allowing ourselves to keep our spiritual self-centered, but also having that strength. Being a spiritual person doesn't mean that we have to be passive. It doesn't mean that we have to just take things on the chin. Being a spiritual person can in fact mean that we really stand up for what we believe in, that we do get involved in petitions, that we do speak our mind, and that we do really honor that thing we have of the freedom of speech, our free will, that we use that but in a way that is high vibrational. So it's about balancing our activism with our spiritual selves, and so we become that spiritual activist. So that could be something that is really important to us at the start of this week. As we move into the middle of the week, the card empathy comes up. Empathy is when we literally put ourselves in somebody else's shoes. Now, we may have heard this term being used, empath, and what that really means is it's a person, a group of people who have this uncanny ability to literally feel the way other people feel. Now, you yourself might feel this. We tend to, as spiritual people, kind of have this gift to be able to really feel how other people feel. It's not about sympathizing and kind of looking from the outside in and thinking, oh, well, that's sad. It's about literally feeling the emotion of what is happening. Now, sometimes with empathy, what can happen is we pick up on other people's emotions and we take them on as our own. So, for example, if someone we love is feeling quite low, we can mirror that. And it's because we're really tuning into how that person feels, and then we physically feel that way ourselves. So at the middle of the week, it may be a good idea to just do some meditation, some grounding work, some shielding work, really going back to basics to keep ourselves rooted and grounded, especially if, like we said, someone we love or someone close to us is going through a hard time and we want to be there to support them. It's important that we keep ourselves balanced and centered, because otherwise we can end up taking on those attributes ourselves. We may also teach others about empathy this week and just kind of lead by example, show by example, be the way shower. And one of the best ways that we can do that collectively is just by living our lives in a way that we think is a great way to live our lives, to be compassionate, to be empathetic, to show love and kindness and care. Rather than preaching about how we should live our lives, we're actually showing others the way that may be going through a bit of a difficult time. So kind of we have that counseling ability in the middle of the week, and we may really find that we are able to give some really great advice and guidance, but again at the same time we keep ourselves centered so that we don't end up feeling the weight of the world on our shoulders, especially if we are listening to the news or the radio, things going on in the world that are upsetting us. It may be that we tune out from that a little bit. It's not about burying our head in the sand and kind of living in denial, but at the same time, we don't want to take on all that energy ourselves, because it's not going to help us in the long run. So just being a little bit discerning in the middle of the week about how much time we spend, how much focus that we spend on kind of negativity and how much focus we spend on positivity, and trying to balance that out. So that's going to be something that's going to be quite intense, I feel, for the middle of the week, but also could really see us have some amazing growth and spiritual insights. And then at the end of the week, we have the card Transmutation. Transmutation, literally, in the past, was the kind of alchemy of turning base metals into gold, and this kind of magical metamorphosis, this process. But transmutation can also mean that we take negativity or low vibration and we transform that into something more positive. So it could be that we are experiencing a situation that we're finding difficult, but maybe we can kind of dig into it and see if there are any pearls of wisdom or any silver linings that we can grab from that. It's not about wishful thinking, but it is about where we put our focus again. Can we find the good in a situation? Can we find something beautiful from a situation that is troubling us? It could also mean that if we are having negativity kind of pushed upon us, this could happen through jealousy, this could happen through conflict. If you're just feeling a little bit like you have those daggers in your back, there's a little transmutation exercise that I like to do, and I'll share it with you now, actually. So it's a visualization technique that I started using a few years ago myself, and I found that it really helps me, so I'll share with you that now. So basically, the transmutation technique is where you envision, much like a shielding technique, where you envision kind of a light around you, except this time it's a purple light. It's sometimes referred to as the purple ray. And it's all about intention. So when we set an intention, that becomes very real for us. That becomes very real to our subconscious mind as well. And that is how a lot of this stuff works. It's through our subconscious. So if we just imagine that we're surrounded by this purple light, and that any negativity or jealousy or hurt that is drawn towards us, once it hits this light barrier, it's transformed into positive energy. And if you just, if we just keep that in mind and just know that that is our intention, then no matter what is thrown at us, even if it is negative, even if we do get trolled, even if we do feel like we're being a little bit put down by others, or people maybe talking behind our backs, it transforms that energy into something more positive, and actually we can use that energy that is directed at us for something good. So that's a little transmutation technique, a visualization technique that I use. I found it really great and it really works well for me, so I hope that it works well for you as well if you want to give that a go. So I hope that you've enjoyed this week's reading about us stepping in and being a bit more courageous and standing up for what we believe in, but still being compassionate and still having that empathy and taking care of ourselves, and then transforming anything negative into something more productive and more positive at the end of the week. I feel this week could be really, transformative for a lot of us, and actually great things could come from it. So thank you so much for joining me this week. If you would like to get in touch with me about preparing your own personal reading, you can find me at www.alyssacruz.com. I hope that you have an amazing week, and I'm sending you so much love, abundance, joy and happiness. Have a great week. Lots of love, Alyssa.